Hello, you lovely cups. I'm the Dragon Lord, and welcome back to part 2 of What If Naofumi was the reincarnation of Indra and Ashura. Now, before I start, I'd like to say you guys crushed the like goal. I set a like goal of 10 likes, and I got 50 at the time of this recording. So I would just like to say I'm gonna up the ante. If you guys want a part 3, how about we get 20 likes? If we get 20 likes, I'll do a part 3. Alright? And with that out of the way, I also want to clarify something. I said that Naofumi gets the Rinnegan at birth, but like he's the reincarnation of Indra and Ashura, but that doesn't mean you should get the Rinnegan at birth. But I felt like he should get it at birth, since he's already kind of special, and maybe some of you know what I mean, but I'm not gonna go further into that. Also, because he's the reincarnation of Indra, I'm giving him 2 special powers, but I'm gonna let you guys create them. So for example, he can, I don't know, create black holes with his eyes. I'm just saying something, right? And then 2 powers. Everybody can list 1 power, so, or well, you can list multiple, but I don't want to choose 2 powers from one guy because that would just kind of be mean. So I'm gonna choose 1 power from 2 people, and then for his Mangekyo, and then I also want to make him get custom Rinnegan abilities, like 2 new Rinnegan abilities. Like that could be an entire new path or something, or it could be like an actual like ability like Limbo or stuff like that. I'm also already giving him Limbo, and he's gonna have all of Indra's Mangekyo techniques, which basically is like every Mangekyo technique we've seen besides like Itachi's, but that's it. I just wanted to say that, so you guys can comment that down below. And I hope we can get some cool powers out of it, right? So with that out of the way, let's start. Last time, Naofumi got teleported to an unfamiliar world. Upon entering the world, he got an explanation from a strange man called Haguromo Utsutsuki. He was brought before the king and could tell the king's disgust for the shield. Upon creating parties, no one would be willing to enter besides a girl called Mine, who seems to have feelings for Naofumi. But due to her father, she has to frame him for taking her without consent. Naofumi proves this innocent, but due to the king wanting him to suffer, he delays the news for a week, making Naofumi go through hell for a week straight. Maxing out his strength in that time, he finds a slave trader who shows him an ill girl named Raphtalalia. He buys Raphtalalia and uses her as a sword. He trains and teaches her all the while. He learning more about his shield and his Rinnegan. The first wave hits and Naofumi and Raphtalalia save a village, while Naofumi also defeats the wave boss. Moroyasu, in an act of selflessness, tries to duel Naofumi to save the girl he enslaved. What will happen to Naofumi and Raphtalalia? Find out in this part. Moroyasu would ask Raphtalalia if if she's actually Naofumi's slave. Naofumi would say, "Yeah, what is it to you?" So Moroyasu challenges Naofumi to a fight, and if he wins, Naofumi has to let Raphtalalia go. Naofumi says, "You know what? Sure, I'll play your little game, but if I win, you will leave us alone and you will pay us 20 gold coins." Moroyasu would answer with, "You're insane, who would pay that much?" As Naofumi would just say, "Well, you've got to make it worth my time, or it's pointless." Moroyasu disagrees, but under the orders of the king, both parties have to agree. The two enter the arena, with the referee calling the duel legit because of the presence of the king and the pope. The battle would start, and Naofumi, unlike in canon, actually doesn't attack Moroyasu at all. He just dodges or blocks all of Moriyasu's attacks. Eventually Moroyasu would be exhausted, as Naofumi would stand over him and ask him to admit defeat. But wind magic would blow away Naofumi, but because of his Rinnegan, he saw it coming and he would actually catch himself and land. Moroyasu would use this moment to do his lightning spear. Now before I continue, the wind magic would not be performed by mine, it would actually be performed by one of Moriyasu's other party members, but anyway, Moroyasu would use his lightning spear, but Naofumi wouldn't even block it. After the attack would be over, Moroyasu would be exhausted, but Naofumi would just stand there without a single scratch and say, "Is that all you've got?" As Moriyasu would get scared and back off a bit, Naofumi would actually blitz in front of Motoyasu and hit him so hard in the stomach it would send him flying into the wall. This would end up making Moriyasu pass out. Now, Naofumi's attack would increase by 20 each time he would level up. This would put him at an attack of 860 by the time the duel starts. And Naofumi's defense would skyrocket too, with him gaining 400 each time he leveled up. His stats would dramatically increase, and this would be due to one of the side abilities of the Rinnegan, or the God's Eye, which lets it multiply the amount of stat given to the user for each level up. Kind of like an equip bonus. The Rinnegan gives him a lot of equip bonuses, but I won't go over them all since it would take a long time. But one more equip bonus that he has is that all XP gained for him is 6 times, and for party members it's 3 times. That's how Naofumi levels up so fast. Now, before you ask why he has such OP abilities, he got enlightened by the Sage of Six Paths, and that's basically a lot of overpowered equip bonuses. And it's not even only his Rinnegan, he's gonna have other equip bonuses that just come naturally. But anyway, the royals would still say that Moriyasu won even though Naofumi won. And this is when Naofumi realizes that it was all just a setup. This is when they take out Raphtalalia to the battlefield, and just as they are about to remove the slave crest, Rin Itsuki mine, and the Pope would interfere, saying that Naofumi won fair and square, so they shouldn't violate the sanctity of a duel. Now, they would still remove the slave crest by accident, and Naofumi is having the entire breakdown like in the show, but gets calmed by Raphtalalia, just in the show. The party member gets shunned for her actions, and Naofumi still gets paid the lowest amount. Raphtalalia gets her slave mark put again, and this is when Naofumi notices the gotcha eggs and buys one. They then end up in the herbs and medicines shop after eating some sandwiches. Naofumi sells some medicine and ends up getting a recipe book for medium level medicine from the shop owner as a gift. Naofumi asks why, and the shop owner tells him that it's a gift for saving a relative of his in Ryut village. The shopkeeper tells Naofumi to visit the witch at the magic shop because she has gifts for them too. They visit the magic shop and the witch tells them their magic aptitudes. Now Naofumi would have a natural talent for basically all of them, but the witch would only tell them support and healing, and that the rest is kind of vague, but that's because his other magics are special, you know, they're actually chakra natures. Raphtalalia would have natural ability for light and dark, and they would get a few grimoires. Now, in the anime they get 1, and in the manga they get 3, but because Naofumi has other elements, he asks for the books on other elements too. They get the first 3 for free, and they get 3 more that Naofumi pays 100 silvers for. Naofumi doesn't know the language, but Raphtalalia knows a little, so they decide to learn it together. Also, right now, he's kinda rich because he got the 20 gold from Moriyasu. But anyway, they travel to Ryut village and stay at an inn. In the morning, the egg would hatch and a filolial would come out. Now Naofumi would name her Filo. Now before I continue, I'm gonna also include parts of the manga, so if you think, wait, I didn't see this in the anime, that's because the anime skipped over it. It's just small events and won't really make a difference, but it will explain some situations better. I highly recommend reading the manga, you know, because it's good. Filo would hatch, and Naofumi wouldn't know that it's a filolial quite yet, but they would head to a barn and ask a worker there, as the worker explains that it's a filolial, and points out to some other filolials. This is when a young man comes up to Naofumi and gives him some beans, as a gift for helping the village, but Naofumi asks him about their price and tells him that he is sick of people's gratitude and getting free gifts, plus they need the money to rebuild. He says this while pointing at a roof. He ends up buying the beans for 70 silver, and on their way out, the young man gives them a tip, which is that monsters grow faster while leveling up. They go out in the field and fight some monsters, but because of Naofumi's strength, they end up fighting a bit longer. Eventually they go into a forest with some massively strong monsters. This makes Filo level up to 34, with Raphtalalia already being at 40, and that's her cap, and just Naofumi gaining a few more levels, putting him at 53. He has a star next to his name, but I'll go into that later on. since heroes usually don't have a star next to their name, but Naofumi's a special case. Naofumi gets really attached to Filo in this time because he is like a father, kind of. Another day goes by and Filo hits level 40. She's still in her small bird form, but she's quite strong already. Nowhere near canon strong though, since she hasn't become the filial princess yet, and she hasn't had all the upgrades like in canon. This being her gauntlets, wyvern talons, and armor, of course. Anyway, all three of them hit max level with 40 without class upgrades. Well, besides Naofumi. Alright, and this is while Naofumi and Filo are just playing around because Naofumi has the time in the world, and they're playing catch. Now, Naofumi remarks that her speed is quite high, and it's higher than in canon. It's actually insanely high, but while they are playing, a crowd would form in the distance, and Moriyasu and his party would stand. Mine would say, "Although it pains me to say this, but on the king's orders, this village will become Lord Moriyasu's domain. Furthermore, there will be a tax in place for the reconstruction, 50 silvers to enter and 50 silvers to leave. This has the villagers going in a riot, and mine would think that they're right, but she can't go against her father's orders." This is when Naofumi steps in and tells Moriyasu that it's a ridiculous price, as he explains that Moriyasu's asking the equivalent of 100 knights with food included. This has the crowd go in an even bigger riot, saying that the shield hero was the one that saved the village in the first place. The shadow would come, show and give Mine a paper. So Mine reads, it says, "Shield hero, you must raise Moriyasu for the right of the govern this domain." This has Naofumi decline, but the villagers insist on him helping them, and they tell him that they will give him a reward. Now Moriyasu makes fun of Filo, and just like in the show, he gets kicked in the sensitive parts, if you catch my drift. This makes Naofumi laugh, and he is down to race. They basically start the race, and Naofumi wins easily. First of all, Filo's way faster than in canon, and Mine wouldn't interfere. The villagers would cheer, and Moriyasu would even congratulate Naofumi. While talking with Moriyasu about the next wave, Filo would actually transform into her big form, which would surprise Naofumi and the others, as she would then start emitting a blinding light. When Naofumi and the others would open their eyes again, they would see a small girl with blonde hair and wings, who would say, "Hello, master," upon seeing Naofumi. This pisses off Moriyasu, who thinks that Naofumi enslaved this poor girl, but Naofumi explains everything. This has Moriyasu apologize to her for calling her a fat and ugly bird. In response to this apology, Filo says, "It's okay, but I would like some food." They end up eating, and Naofumi would get some valuable info from the merchant, as he still gets the cart. They would travel by cart, and Filo would get her slave crest. Naofumi would visit the blacksmith after to get the slave crest to ask for magic clothing, but the blacksmith would point at them in the direction of a witch, who tells them that her gem is broken, but that they can help her get a new one. She leads them to an old alchemist base, but they don't enter it. They follow her, and it leads them to a cave. Just like in the anime, Filo kind of gets brainwashed by the bats, but Naofumi doesn't because of his Rinnegan being able to see through illusions. They end up destroying the bats, like in canon, and Naofumi gets that bat shield. They find the crystal, but it's being guarded by Inoue. Raphtalalia and Filo rush in against Naofumi's will, but Naofumi kind of thinks of the same strategy as in the show, but instead of the mage killing it with fire, it's Naofumi who kills it by using Shinra Tensei and yeeting the Inoue into a crystal wall, killing it instantly. They would get the crystal, leading to Filo getting her close. As they are traveling they see a man whose carriage is flipped over. They help him, and he gives them all his connections, and in full. With this, Naofumi picks up a lot of skills, resulting in him escorting the man and his good. They get stopped by bandits, but Naofumi and his party make quick work of the bandits. The merchant says that they can hand them over to the guard, and Naofumi agrees. This makes the bandits smirk, and Naofumi realizes their plan. He tells them that he knows their plan, and that they will just tell the guard that the devil of the shield attacked them. This results in Naofumi taking all of their supplies, just like in the show. The merchant would teach Naofumi about gem crafting and all of that, and it results in him getting a few spells. Well, more than a few, because he got a feel of the mana. He also learns about accessory crafting and also gets introduced to Merchant's Grapevine, who tells Naofumi about some rumors about the other heroes. Naofumi would take a job delivering a big amount of herbicide and realizes that the town is overrun by vines. They arrive at a little camp where they get greeted by the village elder. The village elder shows them the tent where there are a lot of kids with plants growing on them. Naofumi would take care of the plants, and him and his party would head out to take out the big tree. They do it easier than in canon, with Naofumi learning his little trick faster. Naofumi gets his plant adjustment seed and makes the OP seed that gives food fast. He asks for their reward, and they do some intense bartering. They leave and sell the fruit and seeds to the merchant, who asks Naofumi yet again for his assistance. They end up traveling to a hot springs town, where Naofumi delivers the good to an inn. They go to the hot springs, and nothing really changes at this point. They still get the silver razor back, and Naofumi still gets his hammer. They decide to head east, but if you want to know what happens next, you'll have to wait for the next part. Now, I know this was a short video, but the next video is going to be very special. It's kind of similar to my Tanjiro What If. I didn't want to do that entire part and then be like, oh god, but now I'm gonna have to skip it because I don't want the video to be over 20 minutes long or 30 minutes, because my last video was 30 minutes long, and that was because there was a lot of stuff in there. Anyway, 15 minutes. Next part, 20k, Jesus Christ. 20 likes, and I'll post the next part. And then also, I might post the next part earlier. I might, if like the voting, because voting for the next parts will just be like last time. It will be Saturday, 6 p.m. CEST, and I don't know, that's like Eastern Summer Time, it's like my time, and that's when the voting will start. So if you guys want to vote for this What If, because I might post it earlier, but I'll need to see that people voted for it. So if you guys want the next part of this What If, go on the Discord server, link in the description, and I'll see you guys there. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it yet again. If you want part 3, I guess I will have to hit a like goal of 20 likes. I mean, link for the Discord in the description. And with that, have a nice day, and I'll see you lovely cups in the next video. Bye.